Magoo was sent straight to hell. Somehow, the Book of Life recorded all the accidental hell that Mr. Magoo had rained down upon the world as acts of wanton cruelty. As punishment for these acts, poor Magoo was sent straight to hell. Now, mind you, this hell that we're talking about is not the same old hell that your good book tells you. No, since the death of Henry Ford, hell has become quite different. It's kind of like Paterson, New Jersey during the Depression, or Lordstown, Ohio, that auto plant that was called the fastest assembly line in the world. Now, when you were sent to hell, you went by Hellhound, the official one-way bus line of Satan. That's where it all started for Magoo. He waited in the Purgatory bus station where the announcer on the unseen microphone said, "The 441 express bus to hell has been delayed on the New Jersey Turnpike. There's a 20-year delay. We appreciate your patience and thank you for going Hellhound." All the other passengers who were going to hell seemed more than a little upset. They milled around smoking cigarettes and cursing. "Damn," said a young chemist who had been developing the HIV virus at Fort Detrick. "When I get to hell, I'm gonna call Satan and give him a piece of my mind. Who in hell does he think he is? I've got deadlines to meet. I want to see my handiwork firsthand." "That fella don't know who he's fucking with," said a former Green Beret who was an instructor at the School for the Americas, where he gave instructions on what was called advanced prisoner interrogation to cops from Peru. "I got lost souls to interrogate, and interrogation squads to organize. There's no time to lose. The commies could be plotting a revolt in hell as we speak." Magoo, on the other hand, was delighted. "Oh, goody," he explained. "That will give me some more time to get some more film. I guess I'll have another donut and coffee and use the John. I just love bus trips, don't you?" He walked over to the coffee shop, stepping on the toes of a man who had made millions bilking people in real estate scams. "Sorry," he said, and turned away. He jauntily tossed his umbrella on his shoulder, nearly poking out the eye of a woman who wrote propaganda for the CIA. The bus finally arrived. It looked as if it hadn't been washed in centuries. It was already full. The new arrivals had to stand in the aisle. The bus inside smelled like beer, vomit, and cat urine. "Lucky I brought this bleach-scented incense," said Magoo. He lit a stick. The smoldering match fell into the hat of a televangelist preacher who had run a string of kiddie porn film studios. It smoldered a while in his toupee before catching fire. Magoo slapped him silly, putting out the flames. When they were finally out, the man had lost consciousness. There was a gaping hole in his hairpiece, and the bus smelled like bleach and burnt plastic. All the way down, Magoo snapped pictures and talked non-stop about how his nephews were going to love the snapshots he was taking. 100 years later, the bus pulled up to the Hell bus stop. Everyone was glad to be leaving Magoo. "That man made my life a living hell," said a slumlord from Harlem. "I couldn't agree with you more," replied an aide to the Dalai Lama. Magoo paid no one notice of this. He went straight to a telephone booth and found the yellow pages. He looked a little bewildered for a second when he realized the directory was made entirely of asbestos paper. He looked up hotels. He found a hotel where he thought he had a reservation, the Hell Hyatt. When he arrived at his destination, he managed to walk to the check-in counter and step on every bellhop's shoes in the place. He banged the bell so vigorously that it fell to pieces in his hands. In the back room, Satan heard the racket and came out at once. When he saw Magoo, he realized something was seriously wrong. He looked at the reservation list and back at Magoo. He tried to hide his embarrassment. Magoo's name was not on his list. He knew if he took Magoo, he could be fined for taking an unauthorized soul. He also knew it might be a century or two before he could complete the paperwork required to send Magoo back up north. He knew if he had to take care of the paperwork that he'd have to do to get Magoo out of hell, he'd have to work the entire weekend. That would mean the golf date with Ollie North this weekend was canceled. He lit a cigarette and walked to the counter. "Hi," he said, "I'm Louis Cypher. I'm the manager of the Hell Hyatt. You are the famous Mr. Magoo?" Magoo nodded and tipped his hat. Without waiting for Magoo to speak, Satan went on speaking. "Mr. Magoo, we seem to have a problem. It seems somehow the big computer made a real foul-up. You aren't supposed to be in hell. And as a matter of fact, you aren't supposed to be dead at all. I think you're supposed to be living a while longer in reruns on some nostalgia channel on cable TV. So here's the deal. We have a hospitality suite for accidents like you. Would you mind staying there at no charge to you while I make all the preparations? It might take a century or two. However, I will work as fast as I can to get you back to the living, or at least set up north." Magoo, not realizing he was in hell, was furious. "Mr. Cypher," he said, and pounded his fist and knocked down the counter, "I paid good money to take this trip to Miami. If you are thinking of sending me back because of your errors, I want a full refund. I am very upset. Let me tell you, when I get home, I'm going to write the Better Business Bureau about your lousy outfit." Satan, still trying to be gracious, realized Magoo didn't know where he was. He politely excused himself and went back to his back room. He picked up the white princess telephone that was the hotline for emergencies like this. When the party on the other line answered, Satan started yelling, "Look, I don't care who goofed on this. I've got Mr. Magoo down here. I used to watch him on TV. He was funny then. Now that he's down here, my life could be a living hell. I want him out of here. I'll give St. Peter a special clearance to come and get him right now." "Cool it, buddy," said a voice on the other end. "I gotta clear it with my boss. I'll have to put you on hold." 10 minutes later, the voice on the other line said, "Boss says he can live with your request. Pete will be down in an hour. He's driving a 57 Chevy with California plates. Better call your people and make the arrangements." "Okay," replied Satan. He thanked the other party profusely. He hung up the phone and made all the arrangements. He quickly walked to the lobby to tell Magoo what was going on. The lobby was a shambles. Curtains were torn down. People were rubbing their toes where Magoo had stepped on them. 2 Pentagon generals were nursing eye wounds where Magoo's umbrella had poked them. Magoo was oblivious to all this. He was sitting in Joe Scheidler's lap, totally unaware of the man underneath him. He loudly slurped a bowl of cold vichyssoise soup intended for Scheidler. He saw Satan coming and yelled out, "Louis! Louis! Where's that slow-ass molasses waiter? Tell him to come back and get this soup. It's cold as ice. Where's my London broil? I ordered it hours ago. Where in hell's that bellboy?" Just then a frazzled waiter appeared. Magoo handed the bowl of soup to him. "Take this back and heat it up real good," he said. He handed the bowl to the waiter, spilling half of it down Joe Scheidler's crotch. Joe Scheidler winced, thinking of the dry cleaning bill he'd have to pay. Then Magoo saw the plate of food the waiter had for him. He snatched the plate off the tray, spilling brown gravy on Scheidler's pants leg. The gravy was hot. It burned Scheidler's leg. As Satan patiently explained the mistake, Magoo wolfed down his food. Crumbs and gravy flew everywhere, staining Satan's and Scheidler's clothes. By the time Magoo had finished his dessert of baked Alaska, Satan had finally made Magoo realize what was going on. "So I'm not in Miami?" asked Magoo. "I'm really in hell, and I really don't belong here? And you have to refund me in cash, and St. Peter's going to take me to my hotel? Fine, fine. Hand me my money." Satan handed a red envelope to Magoo. Magoo counted the money twice. It was all there. Magoo turned to Satan. "Louie," he said, "since this was your fault, I assume the meal's on the house." Satan bowed and smiled like a choir boy. "Yes, Magoo, it's on the house." Just then the bellhop announced that St. Peter was waiting for Magoo. Magoo turned to Satan. "I've got to go now, Louie," he said, and rose out of his seat so quickly Scheidler fell back on the floor. Magoo was totally oblivious to this and stood with both feet on the deceased's anti-abortionists. He shook Satan's hand, turned around, stepped on Scheidler's face, and walked toward the car. As St. Peter drove off, Satan lit up a cigarette and said, "Thank God he's gone. It would have been hell round here for me, and I'm the boss." Alternate ending. As soon as Magoo got off the bus, two demons tried to figure out whether Magoo was here for punishment or eternal employment. They walked up to Magoo. "We need to see your passbook," said a blonde-haired demon. Magoo just looked at them in a puzzled way. "I didn't bring any literature with me. I was reading in the library when I fell asleep. The last book I have is at home." "Don't play games with us," said the demon. "Where's your passbook?" "I didn't get one," replied Magoo. "Then you're not here for eternal damnation?" asked the blonde-haired demon. "No, indeed," replied Magoo. "I'm here to do some work. They're making a feature-length cartoon here in Miami about me." Since the demons were former members of Operation Rescue, they were used to following orders and not thinking. If a new arrival didn't have a passbook, they were an employee. When Magoo told them why he was in hell, it didn't matter to them what else he said. He was an employee of Satan. He was to be showed the employee's entrance in hell, sent to the Hell Hilton until he finished his orientation sentences. Then he was to be given his job assignment and an apartment. That's all these demons knew. They pointed Magoo to a door which said, "Employees only." Magoo walked through to a cab stand. A demon in a yellow cab pulled up and took Magoo to his hotel. When Magoo arrived, he slammed the car door so hard it fell off its hinges. Stepping on every bellhop's foot in the lobby, he made his way to the check-in counter. He lightly tapped the bell, which broke in half at his touch, while the marble top of the counter slid off, pinning the day clerk against the little shelf of tiny cubicles that held guests' keys and mail. In the back room, Satan was meeting with the hotel manager. They were going over some last-minute details about the upcoming orientation session and the Rush to Hell tour that was scheduled on the arrival of Mr. Limbaugh, after he was to choke to death on some breaded pork chop gristle. When Satan heard the noise, he ran to see what was going on. He saw Magoo standing by the complimentary hot hors d'oeuvres bar in the lobby, showering guests with crumbs. He turned white as a ghost. "My God in heaven," he thought. "My God in heaven. It's Mr. Magoo. He's never done one intentional bad thing in his life." Somehow the big computer fouled up again. Satan knew what this meant for him. There was an unauthorized soul in hell. This would mean he could be fined millions for every day Magoo was in hell through no fault of his own. That was how the contract stated it. He watched in fear as Magoo grabbed a bottle of champagne, popped the cork, and sent it flying through space to totally destroy a fine crystal chandelier hanging in the center of the lobby. It crashed to the floor on top of Joseph Mengele in his wheelchair. Satan went back to the office. He grabbed one of the white princess phones he had meticulously placed in various locations in hell for occasions like this. The voice on the other end of the recording said, You have reached the Heaven Can't Wait emergency hotline. To serve you better, all calls are monitored. Please let us know if this is an inconvenience to you. To find out about our Hertz Rent-A-Car, press 1. For housing, press 2. To speak with God or one of his representatives, press 3. Satan pressed 3. The same voice said, You have reached the offices of our Lord God, Allah, Jah, Jehovah, Yahweh, and Son. All lines are busy. If you know your party's extension, you may dial it now. Otherwise, please hold and someone will be with you shortly. Satan's blood pressure rose. The knuckles on his hand gripping the telephone receiver turned white. If Satan was angry before, he was really mad now. If there was one thing he hated in creation, it was being put on hold or given the runaround on voicemail. Satan hated dealing with voicemail. He thought to himself, if God's so damn good and can do anything, why do I have to deal with voicemail? A voice from out of nowhere said, I have voicemail so that I don't have to fuck with assholes like you until I'm good and ready to. So use the voicemail, Louis. You know the drill. Satan hated being one-upped by God, but he reluctantly pressed a number. A voice said, You have reached God Almighty. I can't come to the phone right now. At the tone, please leave a message that includes your name, telephone number, and the time you called. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Satan spoke quickly. God help me, I've got Mr. Magoo down here in hell. I enjoyed watching him on TV, but seeing him live and in the flesh is pure hell for me. And the one thing I'm do best down here is torturing people. I'm the one that tortures people. There was a beep, and the original voice gave some more explanation. Satan followed them until he got Jah. Frantically, Satan explained the problem. Jah inhaled deeply on the joint of good interplanetary herb and handed it back to Peter Tosh. After he exhaled, he said to Satan, No problem, man. I'll get Jack Kerouac to ride down and pick up this Magoo fella in half an hour. Just clear it with your people. Last time I brought up an unauthorized soul, it was centuries before we could get through the red tape, man. Satan agreed and hung up the telephone and made the call to take care of any problems. He then turned and walked out to the lobby. The lobby was a shambles. It looked as if a squad of drunken fraternity boys with hatchets had descended upon hell. The curtains were torn down, food was everywhere. Guests and employees were nursing various wounds. In the corner was Magoo. That was the only place that was unharmed. He was sitting in the lap of the late Randall Terry, who had suffered a heart attack when he found out one of his adopted children had joined Refuse and Resist. Magoo was totally oblivious to Terry and was eating baked Alaska and dribbling it down the legs of Randall Terry. Magoo leaned back in the chair, his back slammed tight against Terry's mouth. Terry let out a moan of protest. Isn't that sweet, said Magoo. It's a musical chair, and it's playing that lovely music of Brian Eno. I think it's called Music for Hotels. I love that new age music. Satan approached him, grinning like a choir boy. Mr. Magoo, he said humbly, I am Louis Cypher. I run this place. I am the man responsible for what goes on here. There's been a terrible mistake. You're not supposed to be here." Magoo looked at Satan, trying not to look hurt. He choked back his tears and said, "They don't want me for the part? They haven't got Jim Backus to play me, have they?" "No, Mr. Magoo," said Satan, feeling a little pity for the man and realizing Magoo didn't know he was in hell. "No, Mr. Magoo, you're on the wrong set, that's all." Magoo looked around and a puzzled look came on his face. "Where in hell am I?" "You're in the Hell Hilton." "Oh, in that case, I guess I won't get any ice water." Satan was about to reply that he could get him some when Jack Kerouac came in. When Jack saw Magoo, he smiled. "It's you, Magoo, baby. Mr. Magoo in the flesh. Come on with me, Pops. Let's split this hot-ass joint." "I'm right behind you," said Sonny as he stepped on a dozen guests' toes and walked toward the door. Kerouac opened the door to the red Ford Escort. When Magoo was inside, he opened up the driver's seat and got in, closed the door, turned the ignition, and took off like an escaping bat. Magoo turned the radio on. It was playing a song by the Animals called "We Gotta Get Out of This Place." A mile or two later, Kerouac turned on the air conditioning. When Satan finally could not see the car anymore, he turned and walked to the bar. He ordered a gin and tonic. He sipped his drink and smoked his cigarette and thought to himself, "Thank God Magoo's gone. That man made life hell for me, and I'm the only one authorized to do that around here. After all, I'm the boss."